fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got tracks and he's got rid of the outside of both of them. Maloney!
Oh, he's taken Anderson. Anderson's up top.
Oh my God! Big crash. Oh my goodness, half the field's going to get rolled.
Second very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly. Oh, here we go. Oh no! That's massive. This is it. This is over. I can't believe this. Oh my God!
God, what?
This is the original esport racing game. This is iRacing.
It's time to sit back, grab some popcorn and settle in for a roller coaster ride. The question on everyone's lips: can Alexander Bird secure the title tonight? Let's load up the sims and head to the Phillip Island circuit for the penultimate round of the Epiroc Sprint Series Australia. This track has entertained the Australian round of the MotoGP World Championship each year since 1997, but it's far from just a motorbike track. As we'll see tonight, four wheels, race cars and Phillip Island equal one thing: high speed action. We're live on the iRacing Esports Network, SimSpeed TV, bringing you the coverage tonight. Myself, Ryan Jones, and David Haynes calling this one for you. And, well, last time out at Virginia International Raceway, it was Alexander Bird that took the win, and he stretched his margin at the top of the standings as Russell Rizzo ran into some trouble. But the result of that means, David, we have a very interesting championship picture. How's this? Coming into tonight, mathematically, the top 9 could still win this championship. Reese Keane, that driver, in 9th place. But leaving tonight, it's also possible that Alexander Bird could seal this title today.
Yeah, g'day. The points have been indeed massively close, and with 9 rounds done, there's only been 2 rounds that Alexander Bird hasn't finished on the podium. That's why he's at the top of the standings, and why it's theoretically possible for him to seal this one up. Certainly, he's in the captain's seat. There's some hungry challengers who'd like to make him race all the way to the final lap of the final round, but a lot of them are from within the same team.
Yeah, exactly. Bird, Rizzo, Healy, Thomas, top 4, all Trick Sim Sports drivers. So it makes it an interesting dynamic for that team, because effectively Rizzo needs to make sure he finishes in that top 6 of 5 or 6 positions to get this one going to the next round if a Bird is to win yet again. But it could be challenging for Bird tonight, because I do believe, we'll go through the results later, I think Bird is outside the top 10 for the start of this race, so it could make this one a little bit spicy today. In terms of the strategy, the facts for this race, we have a very cold track for you today. Just 21 degrees, 45-minute race as always, and 50% fuel cap on the cars, which means one-stop strategy for this one. And that cool track temp means these drivers are going to be able to drive extremely hard, and it should provide some great action, Dave.
Yeah, proper Victorian weather at Phillip Island circuit for this round, and there's a lot of fast corners. These GTE machines make plenty of downforce as far as a GT car is considered, so they'll be flat out and close to flat out through some of these corners, and they'll be braking pretty deep as well. That might make overtaking a little bit difficult. A lot of it could come down to the strategy, to the fuel consumption, and to the pit stop. Like you said, a 45-minute race, definitely expecting a pit stop at some point. A lot of our winners and the people making big moves through the field have been the kind that could save a bit of fuel in the first stint, lop a couple of seconds off their pit stop, and then emerge clear and ahead of some of the competitors they might have otherwise been battling with. Here's some of those championship contenders on your screen now, though. Ross Rizzo warming up, feeling out the track conditions right now, and joined by some of his Trick Sim Sports teammates there as well. Likelihood of a safety car in this race, I'd have to say lower than some of the other tracks we've visited, but if VIR had 2 safety cars last round and we've had a safety car at more rounds than not, that's definitely something to consider as well. And when that safety car happens, when that is, if it's within the fuel window, we might see a lot of teams jump in. But if it's not, a lot of the teams will have some counting to do, some numbers to work out. We might see some split strategies, which always gives us exciting racing as well.
Yes, certainly the wall's very far apart from the track on this circuit, which means a lot of runoff for these drivers if they make a mistake. Although we've seen in the past a number of crashes, particularly at Honda Corner, where drivers get speared off to the right, through the grass, through that kink, and then uncontrollable back onto the track through the middle of the corner. Lots of contacts being made there, but before we go through the grid and get this one underway, got to thank, of course, our sponsors. Let's have a word from our main sponsor for the series, Epiroc.
Epiroc is like a large extended family and everyone looks after each other. This is what inspires me.
Epiroc Australia is looking for passionate people to be part of our global team and to make a real difference for our customers. If you're ready to start a new journey, visit us at epiroc.com.au and stay with us for this race because this should be an absolute cracker. Let's go through the grid for this one. Off pole position, not in the championship, and neither is the man next to him. John Peasnick and Jackson Susan Harlow both going to be big wild cards to this one. Danny Davison starts from the third row, or the second row of the grid, from P3. Then Trent Thomas from fourth. Ross Rizzo, one of them 2 main championship contenders, will line up fifth. Brett Gananzi on the outside of that third row. James Mackay, Adam Briggs, 7th and 8th.
9th place is Martin Silvassi, 10th is Ryan Jarek, as you see our big field in the background starting their one full pace lap. Alexander Bird in 11th, Bailey Sweeney in 12th, Michael Healy in 13th, and Jake Maloney's 14th, Daniel Misdale is 15th, Reese Keane is 16th.
Running out the top 20, Jimmy Ball and Dylan Shepherd in 17th and 18th, had Cody Burchett and Jeremy Clark. Nick Carroll and Darren Lobb make up row 11, with Richard Hunter, Brad Newman 23rd and 24th for this one.
And it's a bumper grid. We've got People Love Phillip Island, so the grid continues, and luckily we do have this full pace lap to bring you up to speed on where everyone starts. Cameron Dance in 25th there, Alex Court has 26th, Josh Pervine in 27th, Benjamin Johnson in 28th, Simon Mazzomo is going to start out at 29th alongside John Nicolay. 30th place, Simon Larter in 31st, Robert Chrisdale in 32nd. We've got 36 cars, so the remaining 4 are Hayden Veld, Cameron Stubber, and the final row of the grid is Sean Reed, and Bo Albert is in 36th with no time.
That's a long way back for Bo Albert to be starting from. We know he's a very fast driver in GT machinery, has competed in the iRacing GT World Championship in these cars, so expect him to come through the field at some point today. Alexander Bird then, he does start outside of the top 10. He starts from 11th place. He's buried on the pack, although if we look back to last race, David, let's not forget that amazing start he had at VIR.
Yeah, he's definitely come through the pack and come from behind in some later races as well. He's obviously not qualified maybe where he would have wanted to for this round, but he's won a lot of races this season because his fuel consumption is good and because he's had good pace later in the race. Our top 2 are going to back the whole field up. The pace car has pulled away, and it's John Peasnick who's going to really back them up, and I think he's gone and jumped early into the final corner. We are racing.
We are racing, and a great start for John Peasnick. Pulls out ahead of Jackson Harlow And Danny Davison is side by side with Trent Thomas, although they are now pretty much single file, and you can see the field all 2x2. The further down you get, first side by side action through turn number 1. Look at this. Further back in the field is almost dropping a couple of tyres off the outside of the track. Pretty clean start, and a very clean start for the field. As I say that, there's contact in turn 3, the southern loop, turn 2. Sorry, that was Jeremy Clark getting turned, and he will carry on his way. Not much damage to that car, so he won't be too disappointed with that, other than the track position he's lost. Pretty stationary in terms of positions changed out front, though. Top 5 have remained the same, top 6 even, and maybe even more than that. It's not a big gap, though, out front for Piesic, because Harlow was going right with him.
Yeah, Piesic obviously got a good jump, but it's such a long run down to turn 1 and 2 that right into the slipstream went Jackson Suslin Harlow, and he's still there, still sniffing around. Piesic has not only not gotten away from second place, but everyone's followed along with him. The average speeds are very, very high around here, and that is going to make it so difficult for Piesic to create a breakaway. The pack racing is intense.
Yeah, it certainly is, this track. And of course, it's very long straight too. The very fast run out of that final corner means you come under the straight at over 200 kilometers an hour. By the time you get down here to turn number 1, Harlow's going to jump on the brakes at 270 kilometers an hour. So high speeds for these drivers, as Harlow is coming under pressure more from Danny Davison than he's putting on to John Piesic, I would argue, at the moment too. So Piesic could be... Oh, who's that? That's Jarrett. He's gone around, and a couple more cars have gone with him as well. Caution flag has been called. Dylan Shepherd is missing the front of his car. We've got our safety car very early on in this race. David, let's take a look at this replay from Motor Simulation and try to unpack what's going on here.
Yeah, riding on board with Dylan Shepherd, and Jarrett's obviously a little bit further up there. We'll see what happens. Oh, 2 cars are already around. Jarrett rolls backwards into the middle of the circuit. Poor Dylan Shepherd, absolutely nowhere to go. 1 car nearly entering space there. Penguins can't fly, and neither should race cars, so quite a lot of damage to a couple of drivers there. And Jarrett was running around the top 10. I think in battle he was involved with was really sort of the cause of some of this. We have time underneath the safety car to look at some replays, some different angles, and we're looking at Richard Hunter, and I think his DPR racing car got quite a few car lengths above the ground, and a nice pirouette too, but he will not be scoring that one very well.
That was a big incident there for a number of drivers. Here we see Jarrett get turned by the 33 behind him through turn 1. He was trying to get that car stopped. That was Bailey Swinney that hit him. Both those drivers were hard on the brakes, trying to stop that car, but unfortunately the velocity of those machines carried them back onto the circuit. Here's the onboard from Swinney. You can see Jarrett's gone by him, and I think Swinney didn't quite anticipate how much that Jarrett was going to slow down in the middle of the corner there. And just unfortunate, right on the racing line, the exit of turn 1 there for Bailey Swinney, collected in a big way. So the field has been neutralised, and the top 9 are exactly how they started. Alexander Bird is back in 36th place, hearing from our director, Jay Kennedy, that he's got a black flag on the first lap of this race, so he is coming down to pit lane to serve that.
Well, obviously our leader, Piesic, went very early. It's possible that someone like Bird might have been pinged for passing before the start-finish line, or something like that, because we had a long run from when John Piesic put the throttle down to when the whole field actually streamed across the start-finish line. So Bird is deep in the pack, and he's coming into the pit lane once again. And this is going to be very interesting, because we really hadn't done much racing at all before that safety car came out. Be a struggle for some of the teams to pit and get to the end from here. So really, I think the only people gambling on it there is Alexander Bird, who was already deep in the pack, already basically last. He'll come in, take a little bit of a splash of fuel, and hope that that means his pit stop later is quicker. The pits might open normally this time around, or have they already opened?
Not sure, but Jay, can you maybe get us up a replay of Alexander Bird in pit lane in his pit stall, because I don't think he actually managed to get any service done on that car. He was 2.2 seconds he was stationary for, but he spent a lot of time driving forward, driving backwards, trying to get that car into his pit stall. So I do wonder how much, if any, service that he wanted to get done did get done on that Trick Sim Sports car. A couple early issues here for Bird, and you hate to say it, but that is a big change in the championship picture, as that's an interesting development on track. Jarek just pulled over that machine and retired from this race, checked up a couple cars behind him, didn't want to get a black flag for passing, but this is a huge opportunity now for Ross Rizzo to make something happen. And also for the guys that coming in were on the fringe, Trent Thomas, Michael Healy. Those guys were about 400 points back, and while mathematically there are a chance, they would need to have gained big amounts this race. With Bird running stone cold last right now, that is the opportunity they're looking for. Bird has come back down into pit lane, so I don't think he did get done what he wanted to get done. He's been joined by a few other cars. Richard Hunter, Ryan Jarek, of course, is in there. Bailey Sweeney, he was in that incident too.
Yeah, so only a couple cars jumping into the pit lane. Some of them, most of them, cars that were carrying damage, including Dylan Shepard, who had half of the front of that BMW missing, and he gets a new front bumper and probably needed a new radiator as well. Might have been some other things that they needed to change as well, but race control penalty for car 33, Bailey Sweeney. So they think he caused that issue with Ryan Jarek that then had a big ricochet effect all down the rest of the field as well.
Don't think we can really disagree with that one too much. It did look just a little bit clumsy there from Sweeney. And it has neutralized this field, and the clock is ticking down as we cycle around a 4.4 kilometer circuit at about 70 kilometers an hour. So you lose a lot of time under these safety car periods. And in terms of the field game, it's huge for that, because the less time on the clock, the less laps completed, the less fuel you use. Plus, you're going to be saving fuel under this safety car period. So it's a win-win in that situation. I do think, though, it's still going to be a one-stop strategy. Only issue is none of them can really dive in this early because of that fuel tank restriction. You can't get any fuel in the car.
Lights are off on the safety car, so you're going to get racing this time around, and you're exactly right that everyone's still going to need to pit underneath a green flag, but it'll be a shorter pit stop. They won't need as much fuel because of all the fuel they've been saving going around behind this safety car for 1 or 2 laps. Peasnick, he got a reasonable jump last time. This time he's not let the safety car get away like he did at the race start. He's going to back everyone up just a little bit longer.
Yeah, he's going to back them up a long way longer. And now he goes just off the apex of the final corner. Drops the hammer, gets us back underway here at Phillip Island. And a great restart for Ross Rizzo, as draws alongside his Trick Sim Sport teammate in Trent Thomas. And they'll go side by side into turn 1. As Harlow was ducking and weaving down the main straight, trying to break some draft, find some heat into those tyres. Rizzo was unable to find the way around Trent Thomas as they go side by side further back in the field. And again, it's clean through 1 and 2 for the first time around with the great drop of the green flag. And Danny Davison has gone right with Jackson Harlow off this restart. And again, Peasnick relatively unchallenged for the first few corners.
He's looking for a good jump once again, but side by side for a long way deep down in the field. We had a single file restart. That slipstream, the run from the final corner towards turn 1, really closes up the field a little bit more. So we're riding on board with Jake Maloney. He's gained 3 positions since the start of the race. He's trying to hunt down Healy. These guys have all gained 3 positions from the likes of Jarek and Sweeney in front of them, who lost out. One of the trick cars off.
That's Trent Thomas gone off the track at, what was that, Lukey Heights there, coming down towards MG. I didn't quite catch what happened there. Wonder if there was contact with Ross Rizzo. Let's get the replay up and see what's unfolded. You can see Thomas has lost it by himself on his own. He spun the car coming through Lukey Heights to the inside and cost himself a bunch of track position There's a big scrap here for 4th place, Rizzo, Kananzi, Mackay, and Kananzi's getting it turned by Mackay. No, he saves it. Oh, more contact. And now he goes off the track. That was Martin Silvassi. No, it was Adam Briggs. Mackay's losing time now. He's lost about 4 spots after that contact. Kananzi, of course, has exited all the way to the right-hand side of the track. Healy is going to be the one to come through and take away that 4th spot ahead of Briggs in 5th, Silvassi and Trent Thomas in 7th place. And I think Jack Maloney's actually in there too, just disappeared off the screen for a moment. As you can see that car stationary off to the side of the track. That was Mick Carroll there on the approach to Honda corner.
Back up with the battle for the lead though, because Piesnik, while he qualified on pole and he's had 2 good starts, he cannot shake Jackson Suzlin-Harlow. Is underneath a car length, so kind of come onto the pit straight. Danny Davison also tagging along there as well, and the speed in the draft looked good from JSH, but there's more drama behind. James Mackay cannot stay out of the spotlight.
Same issue that Trent Thomas had through Lukey Heights. Lost the rear through the corner. He, though, went to the right-hand side of the track, not the left. Did a good job to get that car pulled up before barreling straight back onto the track at MG. Piesnik's had an issue, and he's around. And there was contact with Jackson Suzlin-Harlow through turn 1. Piesnik goes for a wild ride coming through the exit. Here's the replay side by side. Harlow, I think he's just come out the track to the outside a bit. Very small contact, but such high lows for the cars at that point in time. Nothing Piesnik could do.
Yeah, a real shame for Piesnik. Suzlin-Harlow is going to go into the lead now. Danny Davison's going to follow along, but I do not think it's the last we're going to hear about that contact. Neither of them wanted to give an inch more than they had to. Unfortunately, it's ended poorly there. Piesnik going for a spin, but he shouldn't have too much damage on that car. Looking at Alexander Bird, man, who could have maybe wrapped up the championship here if he grabs a win, all the way down in 27th position, trying to side his way up through the field. 32 minutes to go. He might also have a shorter pit stop than some of the other drivers.
Did I just see cars spinning around in front of him? I did. That was Hayden Veld of Racing Oz. Contact with Darren Lobb from 31st place. What's unfolded here through Lukey Heights it is, and Darren Lobb. And in front of him, Veld was already being turned around, it looks like, by the BMW there. And I think we'll get another picture of it here. Hayden Veld, who has a lot of experience at this track, races here in supercarts, has found the Armco quite a bit in the supercarts, and has managed to avoid it in this particular incident, but he won't be happy. He's lost it by himself on the brakes. That's a strange looking incident there. We'll stay on the replay because there's more contact. This is Daniel Misdale, a little bit further down the order. And he has made it through the final corner. Was a contact in a straight line.
Well, we'll see coming towards turn 1. Speeds here massively high, and it's so tempting to go side by side through here. And we see kind of a repeat, but Misdale gets helped around, goes for one barrel roll almost, and then tries to get it pointed the right way. We've seen so much high-speed contact in turn 1 so far in this race. So the cars really close up there, but it's not a heavy braking zone, so they try and go too wide through there. More often than not, it's the car on the outside losing out.
Indeed it is, and John Piesnik has found his way back up into 4th place. He's a front of this battle between Healy and Maloney, who gets down to the inside and will clear Healy by the time they reach turn number 1. Maloney goes through into 5th place. Healy goes back 1 spot. Daniel Misdale has come down into pit lane after his incident at turn 1. Harlow, after that incident with Piesnik, has a 1.5 second advantage over Danny Davison. It's 3 seconds then. Back to 3rd place, Rizzo.
So the lead of the race is spread out a little bit, but deeper in the field, it is just not stopping. 7th place, Adam Briggs in a trick sandwich here. Healy in front, Trent Thomas behind, who we saw go for that spin. He's trying to recover some positions, and he's going to look to the inside there, but nothing comes of it. And there's a pack from 4th through to 8th here, and not a lot to separate these guys, and Adam Briggs is in the thick of it.
A lot of very fast drivers in this pack too, led by Piesnik, Maloney. We know he's fast. Healy, Briggs, Thomas, 2 of the top 4 in the championship in this battle pack, and Reese Keane, we said he was the last driver in the standings with mathematical chance of winning this title. Dream race in terms of how it's gone for Bird for him, but 12th place won't be enough to close up enough of a gap to still be in contention. And he's looking at the back, half a second off the back of Cameron Dance's Porsche there down this main straight, getting a bit of a draft as the Ferrari Porsche. And look at this though, because Piesnik has not been able to pull away at all from Jake Maloney. In fact, Maloney has closed back up to him after getting by Michael Healy. So we saw Piesnik coming under pressure, obviously under pressure when he was turned around through turn 1 when he was out front. So he had about 1 lap pace. Doesn't seem like he's got outstanding race pace as off the track goes one of the trick cars. That was Trent Thomas. That's his 2nd time off track today. He's not having the best run. Maybe a bit of issues with car setup for him.
Penalty has come through, and this was between Darren Lobb and Nick Carroll. It's a penalty for Nick Carroll. We saw him in his BMW facing the wrong way near turn 4. Obviously, he must have come together with Lobb, and that has resulted in a penalty. This battle here with Piesnik, though, obviously he was on pole and comfortably, and he looks quick, but maybe that car just doesn't have the straight line speed. So you come through the final corner here, and you are really expecting to see this BMW gobble him up. Maloney is coming, and Piesnik isn't going to defend too hard unless he thinks he can go around the outside here, but it ended in catastrophe for him a previous time. This time, he gives a bit more room to the inside. Maloney also courteous, and the two are going to be side by side coming through the southern loop. Again, such a tough corner to go side by side. Maloney will back out of it.
He will, but he'll get the draft down the main straight. Wonder if he'll get close enough for a move into turn 1. Might be just a little bit too far back though, as here's a move into Honda corner. It wasn't turn 1, sorry, I was looking at the wrong thing. That was coming out of the southern loop and into Honda corner. Our race leader, Jackson Harlow, a stop-go penalty, black flag for causing a collision with John Piesnik on lap number 2 of this race through turn number 1. Lap 7, sorry, through turn 1. And that will release Danny Davison into the lead once Harlow dives down and take that penalty. And it will elevate Ross Rizzo up into 2nd. So that's going to change the lead of this race quite dramatically as that battle for 4th continues to rage through the final corner. Maloney right up the back of Piesnik and dives, having to go to the outside down this main straight. It's a drag race to turn 1. Piesnik has the inside. Can he keep the momentum without making contact with Healy? He does. Slides out in front of him to cover off the inside for turn 2. Great awareness then from Piesnik to get across, not make contact with Maloney, and he will retain that spot for now. But it's a case of absolute maximum defense for Piesnik. He's under a lot of pressure from Maloney. What about a move into Honda corner, turn 4? He thinks about it, shows a nose up the inside for Jake Maloney, pulls it up beautifully and takes the spot away.
He thought he had it all set up for turn 2, but he just couldn't keep his nose in around the outside. So then he's gone down the inside again at turn 4. Good move by Maloney. He's going to drag Piesnik and Adam Briggs along with him. Michael Healy, who was part of this pack, dived into the pit lane that time around. We're just before the halfway point of the race. Everyone who pits now will be able to fuel to get to the end. So one of those trick guys taking a bit of a counter strategy, coming in early. I don't know if you're going to find any clean track position deeper in the field, because there's 34 cars on circuit right now. If you're running 5th, you're probably best to stay there, because where has Healy gone and come out in 29th? He does have a bit of clean air, but there's so many cars in front of him that might not have to pit for another 5 or 6 laps because of the fuel they saved under the safety car. He's taken a gamble. We'll see if it pays off for Healy later on. These other guys are going to stay out, battle it on track. Briggs is looking at these two fighting in front of him, and I think he's going to hope he can gain a position from this.
bit wide for Jake Maloney coming through the southern loop. Has opened himself up to John Piesnik here, or tuck back into that slipstream and try to execute the same move Maloney did a lap ago into this very corner, but Piesnik is too early on the brakes to get that one done. Almost backs himself up into the front end of Adam Briggs' car, and Maloney will hold him off for now. Briggs, it looks like Briggs has got some decent pace here in 6th place, just sitting back and waiting for an opportunity to get a good clean move done. We've not seen every move stick exactly how they would have liked it to pan out today, so it's always high risk when you make an overtake, but when it's such a high-speed track like this, the risk factor just seems to get amplified just that little bit.
And as these three guys continue to battle, Martin Silvassi and Trent Thomas behind might close in a little bit. Thomas was the fastest car on track last lap. From the lead, though, JSH jumps into pit lane, presumably to serve that penalty. Danny Davison will carry on through into the lead of the race. Ross Rizzo is going to be in second. He has picked up a couple of positions from just staying out of the drama so far.
Indeed, look at this little battle here between the two Trick Sim Sports cars. Very close together on the run down into turn 1. That's Silvassi leading Trent Thomas, who's been off track twice already today and is trying to make his way back through after those off-track excursions. He's got the pace over his teammate. Silvassi not quite in that championship frame. Trent Thomas is, albeit a long way back. So it'll be interesting if there's any team orders employed here. Wouldn't imagine so. Silvassi mathematically could do it, but he's a further 200 points adrift compared to Trent Thomas.
Now I'm seeing Jackson Suzlin Harlow came into the pits and has a stop service time of 4 seconds. Is he going to get pinged for improperly serving a penalty? Did we not see that happen to a couple of people last round?
Potentially. I think we may do that. We'll keep an eye on that one as we progress through this race. It might be a double whammy for Jackson Harlow indeed. We saw Bradley Ratu, who claimed a podium at VIR last time out, despite a double black flag for doing that exact thing, copying the black flag, serving it incorrectly, getting another one. But I feel with 22 minutes race, not 22 minutes left in this race, not seeing the same sort of attrition we saw last race, it would be race done for Harlow in terms of a podium spot. A few more drivers diving down into pit lane. Maloney's not pulled away from Piesnik. This battle for third is very interesting because no matter who seems to get out in front of this little train of cars of Maloney, Piesnik and Briggs, they're not pulling away.
And a lot of that does come down to how high the average speeds are around here. The draft's got to be worth more here than it is at a lot of other circuits. Thought maybe Piesnik didn't have all of the straight line speed he would have liked. Maloney, who was obviously quicker, monstering for a way to get past, also hasn't been able to break away. So those three still stuck together for the final podium position at the moment. And a couple more teams are going to be thinking about when do they make their pit stop.
Cody Bircher is the latest driver to cop a penalty, a black flag, and he is currently back in 18th place in this race, so we'll take him all the way down the order into the high 20s. That was for an incident with, I'll just try and go find it, 073 at lap 8 on turn 1. That was the incident we saw when Misdale was turned around. And so Birch has now dived down in to take that lane, to take that service into the pit lane. Maloney's still in third place. You can see the Piesnik fighting that car through the exit of turn 2. That shallow line does open itself up to a bit of the rear end losing itself. Our 12th place man's just gone around. Alex Court all by himself through what I think is the southern loop. He's currently stationary on the track. There you can see him there. Oh, that was a well-judged or a poor re-entry. I can't decide which one. Either way, no contact made.
It was very an awkward place for him to be standing and trying to rejoin. So we'll see on board from Robert Chrisdale, who I think almost hit him, comes around and then sees a car rejoining in front. If he hadn't taken a bit of evasive action there, there would have been contact. You can see from the onboard that Chris Dale opens up the steering a little bit. If he'd kept on the racing line he was going for, there would have been contact. Here's how Court ended up there. Just a bit of a spin through the high-speed corner, and then once the rear tyres were on the grass, it looped him all the way around to be facing the wrong way.
That was right in front of Alexander Bird, so he's been elevated now up into 11th place in this race. He's back where he started after that lap 1 black flag. Hayden Veld and Darren Lobb battling for 19th and 20th. We saw them come together at MG a few laps ago. It appears that both of them have gained a spot on this lap, 3 pit stops. And Darren Lobb is losing a lot of time compared to Veld. I think Veld's actually passed him on this lap. So we'll follow their progress and see whether they have any side-by-side action. There's not too much happening apart from this third place battle that just refuses to go away. Maloney is 5 seconds off the lead of the race, which is the number 75 of Danny Davison. Ross Rizzo's all by himself, 2.5 behind Davison, 2.5 in front of Maloney. These three separated by about a half a second, pretty much. 0.8 of a second, exactly. Maloney very wide through Lukey Heights. The later we get in the race, the more likely it is we could see a dive from Peasnick into MG if Maloney doesn't quite get it right. Or similarly, Honda corner where we saw Maloney get by Peasnick to be in this position. We'll see them coming down into pit lane in not too long too. Just 18 minutes left in the race, so making their pit stops eventually pretty soon.
Yeah, we'll wait and see when. Peasnick almost pulled out of the draft a little bit that time. These three have kind of stabilized a little bit, and what's a mammoth effort is Alexander Bird in 12th place, who has made 3 trips down the pit lane, one of them before the safety car, 2 of them underneath the safety car. He was basically dead last in the pack. He's worked his way up into 12th. Will probably still need one more stop. He'll probably finish this race scored as 4 trips down the pit lane.
Speaking of dead last in the pack, Bo Albert, I mentioned him starting from dead last, 36. He's clawed his way up all the way into 11th, so he too has come right through this field, driven a fantastic race to stay out of trouble. And I wonder how much further he can go. It's currently 4 seconds off the top 10. James Mackay has decided to come down pit lane. You can see him exiting the second pit exit. There's 2 exits out of the lane here at Phillip Island. The one that is used by Australian touring cars, that first one back out onto the racing line. The one that Mackay used there is down around the outside of turn 1, a little bit safer for these drivers. He's rejoined right in front of Brett Kinanzi. And look at this battle for 10th place. Reese Keane and Jimmy Ball.
Yeah, little BMW Ferrari battle. Jimmy Ball in 10th there, trying to pursue both of these guys up 7 positions from where they started. So we've obviously seen within the top 10 a little bit of drama, some penalties as well. These are 2 guys staring down a top 10 finish based on staying out of some of that drama.
I want to avoid any more drama before this race is done. Race Keane, championship's most likely gone for him at this point. Not going to be happening. I think it was pretty much a foregone conclusion anyway, but when you're a mathematical chance, we know anything can happen. It most likely always does happen too. The way this race is running is it's looking pretty comfortable for the front 2 guys. It looks like the battle's going to be for that podium spot. Whether the guys like Maloney, Peasnick and Briggs are able to save any fuel being in the draft of the guys they're racing, whether that allows them to gain some time in the pit stop phase, remains to be seen. You just saw the run down through the field. Trent Thomas got by Martin Silvassi on this lap, actually. And Davison now is the first of the big front runners to dive down into pit road onto the limiter. And he'll look for his pit stall and pull it up in time. Or he'll hope to do so at least. Long way down pit lane, of course.
Early call, because everyone else is staying out. I wasn't surprised to see Ross Rizzo stay out, but everyone else from our top 10 basically staying out a little bit longer. So Davison, I don't know what he's thinking with that, but typically if you're the leader, you stay out as long as you can, unless you really think that there might be another safety car later in the race, potentially. But And I think he's just only risking getting mixed up in a bit of traffic and getting overcut, basically. No one's going to take any tires. It takes too long. It comes out with a little bit of clean track for the moment, but I guess it was maybe a risk he didn't need to take unless he knew he was catching some traffic that he was going to have to put a lap down.
He was stationary for 11.6 seconds. And Dylan Shepherd is up in 11th place. And he's actually ahead of Danny Davison. So I don't believe Shepherd can make it home, can he? But he was stationary for 12 seconds, which would suggest he took a lot of fuel.
Yeah, so Davison stationary for just over 11 seconds. We think that's enough fuel to get to the end. There are some drivers who pitted early underneath the safety car. There's been a bit more contact for Jackson Susan-Harlow and our championship leader, Alexander Bird. So that's an interesting one that we're going to have to look at. Yeah, there's a couple of drivers who pitted underneath the safety car who might save 5 seconds or so on their final pit stop. But here is what happened. Contact between our former race leader and our current points leader. What goes on here? I think Harlow sees an opening down the inside. That door kind of was half ajar, and then once he put his foot in it, the door was kind of closing, and both of them were gone for a bit of a lazy half spin there. I think the move was kind of on, but it was always going to be a bit of a 50-50.
It's hard to call that one. Wouldn't want to be race control for that. Harlow has come into pit lane again to take what we believe is his proper service of the car. I'm still trying to figure out how Dylan Shepherd shakes out on all this because his name's popped up and I don't know how he's got there. But there we go. So Shepherd pitted under the caution, was stationary for longer than Danny Davison was. The only factor is to consider there is no, Shepherd's just gone for a spin through Lukey Heights all by himself, and that's going to ruin that equation as Davison there goes by him. I was trying to figure out, Dave, and I guess I may have put the curse on him there, was whether he got enough fuel into the car under caution, whether the fuel cap restricted him to, whether the fuel cap...
I don't think anyone who pitted under caution was going to get to the end. All they were doing was taking 5 seconds off their final pit stop under green. So it was a good strategy if you were right at the back of the pack, but it didn't make sense for any of the front runners. Speaking of those front runners, a lot of them have come into the pit lane. A couple have kept going. Danny Davison now regained some positions over the likes of Briggs, Maloney here, and Briggs has come out of the pit lane ahead of Maloney as well. And Richard Hunter is there and thereabouts in the picture as well. Heesnick hasn't pitted yet. Rizzo hasn't pitted yet, but most of the field has now.
So that gap between Danny Davison, don't forget he was leading the race, to Adam Briggs, who was in 5th place and is now only about a second or two out of, if that, behind Davison. So a big gain there for Adam Briggs and 2 for Jake Maloney in that pit stop phase. The only driver we haven't seen yet, of course, Thomas has pitted, is John Peasnick and Ross Rizzo. Martin Silvassi, Risto and Silvassi, the teammates, dive down on the same lap. Now we'll just wait for Peasnick. I wonder where Rizzo's going to come out in all this, because if Briggs and Maloney have gained this much on Danny Davison, I wonder whether we'll see Rizzo come out ahead of Davison or whether it was a shorter stop for those two, and rather than a longer stop for Davison, if you know what I mean. I don't really know what I mean. So
a bit of a long stop for Davison. I think now that we've got more numbers coming in, Rizzo stationary for 9 seconds, and some of the other guys like Maloney stationary 9.5. So Davison comes out just in front of Ross Rizzo, but Rizzo has gained quite a bit of ground from having about a 2 second or so shorter pit stop. Davison came in a bit early and he's taken on board maybe a bit too much fuel. Everyone else who's waited has had a shorter pit stop, and now once remaining cars in front take their final pit stops, this is going to be our battle for the lead, and it was 2.5 seconds. It's now down to half a second. Rizzo is in the draft of Davison, and if Rizzo can pick up the win here, he's second in the championship. We don't know where Bird might shake out. We think he needs one more pit stop as well. If Bird ends up far enough down the order and Rizzo can win this, he'll definitely go to the final round.
The gap is 234 points between them currently, so maybe even possibly could come out of this with the lead of the championship, depending on where he is. If not, under 100 points for sure, would make this an incredibly climactic and grandstand finish to the championship next time out in Silverstone. It's on for the lead of the race. Rizzo's firmly in his draft. Peasnick has decided to pit this lap as well. He's just leaving his pit stall now. Where's he going to come out in this battle for the lead? He's going to come out right in front of them, but he's going to lose a bit of momentum through turn one, and nothing he can do against Danny Davison. He's going to slot into second place, though, right in front of Rizzo. Rizzo's not going to like that because he's going to be held up here through the southern loop as Peasnick gets the momentum back up, and now we have a three-car fight for the lead of this race with just under 10 minutes to go. This is going to be an incredible finish to this one. What was a very comfortable margin has come down suddenly to 3 cars covered by 1 camera shot.
Very, very short pit stop for John Peasnick. A second and a half faster than Ross Rizzo as well. He's taken a massive gamble on the fuel here as John Peasnick. And we've seen him do that before and make it work. Remember, he no-stopped at Zandvoort when we thought he was going to run out of fuel. And somehow he just coughed and spluttered his way across the line and for a win there. So Peasnick has been very, very aggressive on that strategy. But if anyone can make it work, certainly he's made it work already before in this season. Other dramas out and about on the field. This one's going to involve Simon Larter, who's ended up, well, he already had the damage on that back left quarter. So is this a spin by himself into southern loop? Wouldn't be the first time. He loses it in the middle of the corner and goes quite deep into the gravel.
Indeed, Alexander Bird, championship leader, he's come down into pit lane, so we'll get a picture now of where he's going to shake out in this field. He's missed his pit box, similar issues to what he was having under the caution that we saw earlier, him trying to find it. He does eventually get the pit box, but he's cost himself some time, and he's going to come out behind Jackson Harlow, and there was no action between Harlow and Bird's incident, so you can see that on screen, no further action. So they're free to race, and Harlow will try to find his way back by him again, but Danny Davison's coming under all sorts of pressure from John Peasnick. He was defending most of this race, was Peasnick. Suddenly he's getting on the attack. Looks like he has the pace to win this race. Similarly for Ross Rizzo, there's a lapped car in front of them. That's Sean Reed, who will want to get out of the way quick, smart, and not hold them up. Does a great job to get out of the way there. Runs himself off the track in the process of doing so, sacrificing himself for the greater good of the battle for the lead. 7 minutes to go. When they cross the line, it'll be about 5 or 6 laps. Probably less, actually.
I think it'll be 5 this time. They're going to come through the final corner, and then they will have 5 more laps to go to see who wins this. And if Ross Rizzo can keep the championship fight alive, because he's sitting pretty in 3rd place there. I've doubled up on the word, but I'll stick with it. Peasnick's going to put the pressure on Davison. Davison, we know he's fueled just fine. He can go full throttle. Peasnick is going to be right on the margins of it. I'm sure Rizzo is fine as well. Now that all these cars are right up behind him, Davison's not looking quite as strong as he did in clean air. So I think between these 3, it's anyone's game, really. And 4th place man, Adam Briggs, is only a second and a half further back, and he was faster than the top 3 last time around. So it's shaping up to be a fantastic battle. And another one that's shaping up, I think, is going to be Michael Healy and Jackson Suslin Harlow, who are now on track together because Healy has had an adventure.
Big adventure off the track. That was through the southern loop. Just lost it on the exit of turn 1. I think when he jumped on the brakes, he lost the balance of that car and it launched itself to the right-hand side. I just got the outside of the curb with the left tyres, and that flipped the car to the right. And did a good job to gather that one up without losing too much time and without finding the wall. Peasnick had a big go at Danny Davison into Honda corner last time round. Forced Davison very deep into the corner, who ran wide through the exit. But Peasnick's going to be closing, watching those taillights get ever closer through his front windshield, through his monitor at home. but not close enough through turn 1. He closes up massively and into turn 2, late on the brakes, almost into the back of Danny Davison. You can see the onboard rear view camera in the center dash there. Peasnick's lights, 4 or 6 of them, glowing ever closer. And so much pressure for Davison right now. I don't believe he's won a race this year, has he, David?
I can't say for sure without looking it up. But certainly, Bird has won more races than he hasn't. So there's only room for so many other drivers to have taken a win so far this season. And one of them was Ross Rizzo, memory serves. So outside of the Trick stable and Peasnick, not many drivers have taken a win at all, and that might be it entirely. Peasnick struggled over Lukey Heights, though. This is the most breathing room that Davison's had in a while. Rizzo is right there. Adam Briggs is just matching the pace of the leaders, but he's a second behind Rizzo. He's just not quite within the draft yet. He needs these guys in front to keep fighting so he can get in the picture. 3 laps to go.
Interestingly, Rizzo hasn't actually won a race this season. That much, mate. Bird's off the track, and the telltale marks of those tyre tracks indicate he might have found the wall. He was running in 14th place. He's running a lot lower now. He's all by himself. There's no one around him apart from that car. A few car lengths back, but I doubt he was a factor in this. Through Hayshed, high-speed corner, and get it back to the left for Lukey Heights. We see lots of trouble today. Loses the rear, and off into the barrier. Craig Lowndesk, who had an incident there a few years ago at this track in practice. And Alexander Bird, this race not going well for him. Alex caught into the same corner, same scenario. Car doesn't snap like it did for Bird. He gets that car stopped. Crisdale, big crash. Up and over he goes, and still rolling over Lukey Heights.
Crisdale and Court with a similar thing on the exit of Southern Loop. Definitely, Crisdale will have dramas for Peasnick. Crisdale will have PTSD of cars rejoining the track in front of him. John Peasnick could have won this race, and now he's just doing donuts in the outfield. Cannot get that thing pointed the right way between Lukey Heights and MG. He's dropping all the way back into 9th. And Davison has some breathing room. So what happened?
What is it with Peasnick and spinning when we go to a replay of something else? There! He just lost it. Coming through the crest of Lukey Heights, Ross Rizzo almost involved in that accident, and you can see he just couldn't get the car pointed back towards MG corner. Here's the onboard from Rizzo. You can see the, how close that was. Great evading action from Rizzo to avoid that car. That releases Rizzo now into 2nd place, a second off the lead. Can he close up now? That releases Briggs up into the final podium spot too. And John Peasnick, that's the second unforced error. No, actually, he was spun by Harlow, wasn't he, that first time? But it's the second time he's gone for a spin in this race. It's not been... He's had 2 opportunities to lead this one, and he's not taken either of them. So, Peasnick won't be winning this one. Davison, Rizzo, Briggs, they're the top 3 that very likely still have a chance with a minute and a half left to go. We'll get the white flag next time by. They'll have 1 more lap to go, and then it will be down to the checkered flag. Danny Davison's best finish this year is P4. That came in VIR last round, so he's improving, and he could get his best finish yet today. 2 laps to go at Phillip Island.
Wow, what an exciting finish we are set for as well. 1 minute left on the clock, and that's going to tick down because we are on the final lap. Looking at Peasnick trying to recover another spot from Jimmy Ball, and he's going to get that one, I'm sure, to the inside of turn 1, and Ball is on the brakes a little bit earlier, and you saw the brake lights for that.
So Peasnick will be up into 8th place now as a result of that. How is the gap out front? Has it come down at all? To the naked eye, it looks like it has. Last time by, Rizzo was exactly the same pace as Danny Davison, bar 200ths of a second. But on this lap, he really looks like he's closing up dramatically to the rear end of that number 75. Is the pressure going to get to Danny Davison? He hasn't been in this position all race long. And suddenly today, he has an incredible opportunity to win this race. He's got a lapped car in front of him. Get out of the way. That's Robert Crisdale. No bonnet on his car. He's right on the exit of the corner. That Ross Rizzo's not going to like that positioning from Crisdale. Made him take a much shallower exit than he would like. Coming down the main straight. One more time around, or is this the final lap?
Check it in the air. Davison
Checkered
takes
flag.
it. Rizzo ran out of opportunities, got a bit balked by that lapped car. Briggs is going to take third. You can see the remaining cars coming across the line. But with as many cars on circuit as we had, there's a couple more battles still to happen. Healy is not going to get keen, though, as much as he's closing towards that checkered flag. I think Veld, Bird, Johnson, Richard Hunter is one to watch. It's Alexander Bird has not had at all the race he would have wanted, currently running in 17th. Is he going to be able to get Veld before the line?
He's given him a hit. He's given him a shot through the final corner. Has pushed Veld wide, and
Veld's out of fuel. That's why it happened.
He's out of
Veld's
fuel.
car is coughed.
And there were three wide across the line in front of them. Richard Hunter, Johnson, and Bird. And big misjudgment from the Racing Oz car there, who only comes home in 19th. Sighted that final corner in 16th. Lost 3 spots through it. And there was we'll get a super slow-mo of the 3 wide at the line. As Richard Hunter had all the momentum. Bird was checked up by Hayden Veld. And look at this. Which way do you go? Where did he go? I didn't catch it across the line. Did he squeeze between Bird and the pit wall? It looks like he did. There was about a car's width there. All that momentum. And in the end, it was Richard Hunter who came home in front of Benjamin Johnson, but not in front of Alexander Bird. Almost making contact with Bird. In fact, they probably did touch, and he definitely touched the wall as well, as tight as you want to get when you come across the line. David, that's the race done. Everyone has finished come across the line. Let's go through the results for this race. Danny Davison, in the end, took it home 0.8 of a second. That checkered flag crept off of me. I thought it was very close to going the extra lap, but in the end, couldn't quite get there. Rizzo home in second, Briggs in third. Maloney and Trent Thomas rounded out that top 5. Trans-Tasman Racing and Trick Sim Sports, 2 cars for Trick in the top 5. Silvassi home in 6. Cameron Dance and John Peasnick 7th and 8th.
9th place was Jimmy Ball. 10th, finishing in the top 10, was Bo Albert, who gained 26 positions throughout the race and finishes as the highest of the Altus Esports cars. Reese Keane in 11th, Michael Healy in 12th, Jackson Susan-Harlow in 13th place there after having to serve that penalty. 14th, Brad Newman. 15th, Josh Pervine. And 16th, Alexander Bird. Basically his worst finish all season, and he will not wrap up the championship. It will go to the final round next time.
It will. I do believe the championship difference is now 134 points after the conclusion of this race out front. Richard Hunter came home in 17th place in spectacular fashion, ahead of Benjamin Johnson. Veld running on fumes, not even that. Home in 19th, James Mackay in 20th. Lob was 21st. Mizomo, Stubber, and Lata 22nd, 3rd, and 4th.
25th, Daniel Misdale is the last car on the lead lap. We look at Robert Crisdale, who finished with no bonnet on that car and definitely saw plenty of action himself. Alex Court, John Nicolay, Ryan Jerrick, Sean Reed rounding out the 30 there. Sean Reed 3 laps down, and then basically into retirements from here. Bailey Sweeney 6 laps down, Dylan Shepherd 7 laps down, and the remaining cars, Brett Cananzi also a retirement, same for Jeremy Clark, Cody Bircher 16 laps down, and Nick Carroll last and 21 laps down.
Before we unpack this race and go through some interviews, let's grab a quick breather, a short break, a quick word from Epiroc, and we'll be right back just after this.
With Epiroc, I've had the opportunity to work internationally, study and develop my skill set. This is what inspires me.
Epiroc Australia, we're looking for passionate people to be part of our global team and make a real difference for our customers. If you're ready to start a new journey, visit us at epiroc.com.au. Let's see who wants to visit us up here in the booth. I'm trying to have a look, and Jay, our director, maybe you can find out which one of those is Danny Davison. There's a man there with no name in the interview channel. I'm hoping this is Danny Davison. It is Danny Davison.
The one and only.
The one and only, with your first of one, and hopefully not only wins in SSA, certainly this year, potentially in SSA, full stop. Congratulations, you took home a win, but under a second.
Yeah, thanks. I'm very happy to get my first win. Like, I struggled a bit when I joined the series, but yeah, finding some pace, and it was hard work tonight. But yeah, had a bit of luck with the guys ahead having some contact, but I made the most of it. So yeah.
You certainly did the best you could out there, and talk us through that pressure for the final stage of that race, where you had Ross Rizzo, John Peasnick so close to your rear bumper, almost close enough to make a move, but you just about did enough.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't sure what John was doing so close. I was a bit surprised. I didn't know how he got there, and yeah, I was a little bit rattled, but yeah, I just tried to keep calm, just not make any mistakes, and something happened to him, and yeah, just kept it together. Very exciting, that's for sure.
It certainly gave us a lot to talk about up here in the booth, and I can tell you that Peasnick spun through Lukey Heights, Rizzo almost into the back of him in that spin.
Okay.
What happened was your pit stop was about a couple seconds longer than almost everyone into the top 5. Did you overfuel the car, or did you know you'd overfueled the car, or was it just a case of your pit stop having to be longer, you're not sure why?
I always lose time in the pit stop, so I'm not even sure. I mean, I finished with about 8 litres of fuel. I mean, I'm not sure how tight the other guys are running it, but I thought I entered the pit okay, but I always lose time in the pits. So, yeah, I mean, I have to investigate that, yeah. Very lucky.
Very lucky. I'm just looking at your time. It was stationary for 11.6 seconds. Ross Rizzo for 7.3. So,
oh, wow.
Maybe a little bit to unpack for you there post-race if you want to take any negatives away from a very good performance today. Third to first. Fantastic race, did not crack under pressure. Before we let you go, is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to?
Well, I'll give a shout out to my new team, EXG Motorsport. I just joined them after the last race, so it's perfect timing. So maybe that motivated me a little bit. But yeah, shout out to Bradley and the rest of the team. He was helping me out get up to pace with his car since I joined, and yeah, had a good result. So I'm very happy.
Well, it seems that move to XG has been a good one for you. Congratulations, mate. We look forward to seeing what you can do in the final round at Silverstone in 2 weeks' time.
No worries.
Thank you for joining us.
I'll see you there.
Certainly will. We'll grab the next driver in, Ross Rizzo, who came home in second place. Just didn't quite have enough for Danny Davison at the end. David, he's all yours.
Ross, first of all, congratulations on that second place and moving up through the field. Pit strategy in this race with the safety car that early, was it just too early for anyone running at the top of the field to take a gamble?
Yeah, correct. Could only really just save the fuel under the SC, but it hurt the strategies as far as, you know, those that like to fuel save under green like I do. So that obviously didn't work too well in my favor, but hey, everyone was in the same boat.
You came out of that pit stop right in that battle for the lead, and then had John Peasnick appear in the middle of that one. What were you thinking there?
Well, I couldn't stop thinking about that I overshot my pit box and would have been way clear of the two had I not done that. So I was kind of, very annoyed at myself with that. But it was, so once I got over that fact, it was a really enjoyable battle. But I could quickly tell they had the legs on me. I was just unable to really stay with them unless I was able to keep in the draft, and I'd need them to make mistakes in order to make passes.
Sort of a weird situation for you here in this round where your teammate could have wrapped up the championship theoretically, but a pretty torrid race for Alex Bird and a second place for you means that on one hand, your teammate doesn't wrap up the championship, but on the other hand, you're still mathematically in a fight coming into the last round. Which way does that tug your heart?
Yeah, very jaded. We'll go that way. Like Alex did say that even if he did use this as a drop round, which it will be, the championship outlook is very, very bleak. And look, I don't mind. He has been the better driver all season. That's been pretty obvious. So he deserves to win the title, but obviously just needs to get it done with that last race. But it's always good to make sure the series goes on to the last round. We've got loads of other cars that are fighting in the top 10 and whatnot. So there's still plenty more to sort out for the final race at Silverstone, which is a new track, which should be great. So yeah, really excited for that, for the prospects of that race.
Thanks so much for having a chat with us. And if we're lucky and if you're lucky, we'll have this same conversation again at the end of that round in 2 weeks' time.
Yeah, sure. I would love to. I'd also just want to give a quick shout out, obviously, to the boys at Trick Sim Sports, Trick Custom Fabrications. A massive shout out to our winner, Danny. He went missing for a little while, I think, but then came back guns ablaze today. And so well done to Danny and Exto Gaming and Brad Ratu, who I could see was going off in the chat. So I think he's been wanting a result like that for a long, long time. And also a quick shout out to the guys in iRacing Down Under that helped me sort out my pedal issues prior to the race. So thanks heaps for that, guys.
There we go. I'll throw it back over to you because we've got one more driver I think we can have a word with.
We can, and we just got unofficial word from our director, Jay Kennedy, of the championship equation. 204 points between Bird and Rizzo. The only two now that can win this championship when we head out to Silverstone. Before we talk a bit more on that, let's talk to the man in third place today, Adam Briggs, up 5 spots. Fantastic drive up through the very peak of this field. David, what you got for him?
Yeah, well, Adam Briggs, third, final step on the podium there, and it looked like you were just a tiny bit too far away from the leaders most of the race to be able to pick up the draft.
Yeah, I was just on the fringes of it. I was trying so hard to pick it up, but I only got within probably a second of Ross, maybe in the last lap and a half there. Well, since when Peasnick spun essentially. So yeah, look, just pushing hard, had plenty of pace. Jumped Maloney at the pits, got some damaged bonnet fixed at the pit stop as well, and just put my head down and see if I could catch him. Couldn't quite, but gave it my best. So.
There's a lot of BMWs at the pointy end of the field, not just here at Phillip Island, but generally in SSA. So Peasnick couldn't quite convert in the Ferrari, but you're driving the Porsche there. How did it fare around the fast corners of Phillip Island?
That's probably the best circuit for it in this season. I've got to be honest, I've probably struggled with this car a little bit. I think I'm probably feel a little bit more natural in the Ferrari, but my teammates have been fantastic in helping me out, understand the setup. And yeah, look, this track in particular was really good for it. Obviously JSH was very quick in it as well. So I think Phillip Island was a strong Porsche circuit, actually.
Danny Davison says he finished with 8 litres of fuel still in the tank. You had a pretty competitive pit stop time as far as the drivers at the front of the field go. Any concerns at all? Any management required there, or did you get the number exactly right?
Actually, I had 2 litres too many. I probably could have had a faster pit stop. So nailed it. I was within 30 centimeters of my mark. Jumped Maloney. So I don't know whether Maloney had to take a little bit more fuel. That really set up the rest of the race for me, was that excellent pit stop. So yeah, I think that really helped me out.
Big grid, big turnout this round. Any concerns about traffic? Because Phillip Island, a little bit shorter of a lap than some of the other circuits. Did you have any troubles with that?
No, actually. I mean, we were in the practice and qualifying server. I didn't get balked at all, actually. It was really good. And then the race, just trying to avoid accidents. I think I tagged someone who was already partially turned a little bit earlier in the race. But other than that, that was literally the only contact I had all race. And John and Jake Maloney were absolutely throwing kitchen sinks at each other, and I just sort of sat back and tried to stay clean, which worked out great. No, it was actually surprisingly clean from where I was sitting, actually.
That's fantastic to hear. We're too deep in the season for yourself to be within the reach of the championship. But what do you think about maybe finishing on the podium again next round and seeing where that puts you in the overall standing?
Yeah, so I think it was my team that informed me I'm still in the top 5 in terms of points leading into this round. I didn't even realize. I think consistency really reigns supreme. I think you can subscribe to the Ross Rizzo mastery of championship wins, and to prove that as long as you show up every week, you put your best foot forward, you try and finish as far forward as you can, you're going to be roughly thereabouts with regards to championship points. I'll just do the same next round, and that's the best way to look at it.
We look forward to seeing you again there and again on the iRacing Esports Network. Anyone you would like to thank before we kick you out of the commentary box here?
Yeah, definitely. I'd like to thank the iRacing Esports Network for obviously enabling this broadcast to continue. SimSpeed as well. Obviously the great guys behind the scenes doing all the editing and also the commentary as well. Southwell Lists and Hoists really help us out. Obviously, it's featured on all our livery and stuff like that. Ben Max Mechanical and also BetSmart Racing Services as well.
There we are. That's a word from all of our top 3 in this round from Phillip Island in Epiroc Sprint Series Australia. It gave us plenty of action, right?
Oh, it sounded like Briggs had a list of sponsors ready to go there. He's got that sorted out. But what a race we saw today. The leader of the race taken out twice, or taken out literally once, and then taken out of the lead by penalties once more. And that left Davison, Rizzo, and Briggs, the men to fight for the win in the end. And it has closed up the championship by just a little bit, 20 points or 30 points closer than it was. Bird takes the drop round today, which saves him just a bit. 204 points, the unofficial gap, heading in to the final round at Silverstone. The brand new Silverstone, as you heard Rizzo mention. And that is in 2 weeks' time on the 20th of November. Make sure you tune in for that one. Going to be a thrilling conclusion to what has been a thrilling season. But before that, SimSpeed TV have got 4 broadcasts coming up. And a relatively quiet week, which I'm sure won't be a huge disappointment for Jay Kennedy, who's worked so hard behind the scenes and needs a well-deserved break. But we still have coming up tomorrow night and next Thursday night the IMSA official Michelin Pilot Challenge. On this Friday night on the iRacing Esports Network, AOSC is back in action, and that particular race will be at the Interlagos circuit. And then on Monday night we have another Interlagos race, the Monday Night Official Supercars Championship on the iRacing Esports Network. So you've got all that to look forward to, plus much more on the network. Make sure you like and subscribe if you haven't already. Make sure you let us know what you thought. Make sure you tune in, because you can always get some fantastic action, no matter what series, no matter what country, no matter where we are racing from. But for tonight, and from myself, Ryan Jones, from David Haynes alongside me, from Jake Kennedy behind the scenes, thank you so much for tuning in. Good night. We'll see you next time.
This is fantastic. This is GT racing right now. He's got traction. He's got really outside of both of them. Maloney. Oh, he's taken Anderson. Anderson's up to him. Oh my God. Oh, big crash. Oh my goodness. Half the field's going to get rolled.
Second very close. These guys I want to make their way through the field very quickly. Oh, here we go. Oh no. That's massive. This is it! This is over! I can't believe this! Oh my god!
God, what?